Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to do a video talking about armor and why it's bad, and I also briefly want to mention the changes that's coming to Frost and how I feel about those and so on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So I want to start off this conversation about armor with Inaros and why armor works for certain characters and does not for others. So let's just go ahead and read what armor does. So armor reduces damage to health by insert number. Shields are not affected by armor. This is incredibly important. Shields are not affected by armor. This is why armor will be just considered bad always, because shield tanking or shield gating is the preferred way of surviving in higher level content. If you're doing normal Star Chart shit, then like none of this will bother you at all. But here's the thing: for Naros, this doesn't bother him because he has zero shield. Even if you try to mod for shields on him, guess what? You will still get zero shields because you can't multiply by zero. It doesn't do anything. So which means you just slap on a bunch of as much armor and DR and health on him as possible. That's fine. And I'll show you guys my build real quick. So we have fiber here. So I have an armor mod, and it's just ideal because well, he essentially his 3 allows him to double his overall like armor value, so that's cool, I guess. With him specifically, because he only has health, armor actually provides some type of beneficial gain. However, for most characters, it's not going to be the case because they have shields, and even then, their health and shields aren't like combined. Like it's not like some crazy number. Like in the case of my Inaros here, I have 6,000, almost 7,000 health. So this doesn't really help me in on most characters. Now, if we go look at adaptation, Adaptation is a saving grace for the game that is just honestly kind of hilarious because it's just flat DR. In 90% of cases, this is what you want. You can slap Adaptation on pretty much every fucking character, and that character becomes a tank. Now, obviously, there's some like caveats here, but like characters who get double damage negation are going to be better than health tank frames just off, like just out the gate. Because first off, armor, even if you slap on as much armor as you can, that's still going to get you a 90% damage reduction. Whereas slapping on adaptation, or if you have an ability that gives you more damage reduction, this will, this will exceed what you can get from armor. And since armor again doesn't affect shields, whereas DR does, meaning you can actually tank with shields, which is why stuff like adaptation is basically a mandatory on Hildren. You kind of need this on a lot of characters, and this one mod basically destroys a lot of the previous systems that are in game, and so it kind of makes armor by default just weak. So this is Ember, and she has an ability called Immolation. Immolation can give her up to a 90% damage reduction, and if you look at our build, we have adaptation on it because that's another 90%. So two 90% damage reductions. She can tank for quite a bit as long as you have something to heal her. She's pretty much completely self-reliant for a few thousand levels into Steel Path, and she has shields. So that's two 90% damage reductions while having shields. That's great. That's amazing. Which, again, when you look at a character, say like Nidus or Inaros, or even possibly, arguably, Kullervo, even though he has overguard, so he doesn't kind of count, but he kind of does because he doesn't have actual shields. But you get the point. Um, those characters by default are just made much worse. So DR just is king across like all damage reductions when you compare it to armor, and especially when we look at our Ember here, we have 160 armor, which I mean 34.8% damage reduction is it's nice, but that's only to our health. Which to be fair, I mean the way I have it set up right now, I am kind of health tanking, but she still has a shield if I need it. So it's not like completely like one or the other in this case. So another thing I wanted to quite mention is Corvex. Corvex is definitely a character, but he has a very interesting thing about him, and that is his overall armor values. If we go to my upgrades real quick, I'm using a full umbral set plus armored agility, so that's an extra 40%. So we have 180% from fiber with the full set with the extra 40. So 220% increase to his armor. And with that, we can finally get a 90% damage reduction, which again, I could have just replaced with adaptation. Now I could still throw adaptation on this build, but at the same time, I mean, I've literally lost that. That'd be 5 mod slots I would lose. Where's my build? Where does my build go? But the point I want to get across is that you need this much armor to do what adaptation already does. How is that at all balanced? And keep in mind, this only works on health. So now if you're wondering, how does this pertain to Frost? Well, Frost is getting some changes, which obviously I'm basically the Frost rework guy at this point. That's kind of a meme, I guess. His passive is like the most egregious one. So this passive, the one where if he gets hit by a melee attack, they freeze his enemies, or has a chance to. It's not even guaranteed. This is absolute ass. I'm okay with this disappearing, but what they're replacing it with is just not much better. So essentially, they're making it so that he gets Embers like passive, except minus strength. That's going to be armor, which, as I just discussed, why armor is bad. We will we'll see why this is a problem later. Um, so basically, he freezes enemies. Any enemy around him that has a cold proc on them, he will get armor. I mean, this would have been cool if this was like like take the game back like 4 or 5 years ago. But now at this point in the game, it's just not. It's just not conceivable. Like it's just pointless, really. Now the reason why they would do this, and I can only think about it as a reason to buff Snow Globe, because Snow Globe does scale with armor, but it also scales with strength, and it scales harder with strength than it does armor. So this gets back to the whole issue: why the fuck is it scaling with armor? And the other issue is that Frost is not a health tank frame. He's a defense frame. Do not confuse the two. Defense meaning he can protect objectives, not that he can tank damage. That's not how he was ever intended. He's become more that way because of his uh, the augment for his four. But for the most part, he is not a tank frame. He's a defense frame, and you need to understand those differences. And it makes it even funnier because he has 650 shield. He has more shield than he does health. Now this can switch on certain characters, but 315 armor as well. That's a decent chunk of armor, which is it's over 50% actually. But you get the idea. But he does not have the health necessary to health tank, and I do not want to waste a slot on here that for a health mod. Like why would I put a vitality mod anywhere on here when he has way more glaring issues like energy consumption to deal with, and plus I'm pretty much immune at all times because I have Overguard, I have my Snow Globe, and I have my shield. That's 3 layers of health protection before I even can start taking damage to my health. And by the point I start taking health damage, I'm basically dead because I don't have any enough DR necessary to survive anything in Steel Path. So again, we get back to that issue where if you're playing Steel Path, none of this means anything to you. But if you're playing normal Star Chart, it's fine, I guess. But that doesn't fix his issues. Now, just to quickly go over the other changes he got, they're essentially going to be giving this more range. I don't know what that means because it does not scale in range. This has been one of my biggest issues with this ability in the first place, that it doesn't scale with range. So if they're giving it a range and it can scale with range, and it's capable of freezing multiple enemies, not just sprinkling some guys with some snowflakes, um, then this will be an amazing ability. This could actually this could go in the running for his four being his best ability. Because being able to hard CC people and then basically guaranteed red crits off of them is going to be insane. The other change that he is getting is to Snow Globe. Now, instead of, I don't know, buffing Snow Globe, they're just basically giving it some boring quality of life shit where essentially you can shoot into it, not just out of it now. So it goes both ways. You can shoot in and out, which to me, I've never had this problem because I have an 8-meter Snow Globe, and most people are sitting around that, 7 to 8 meters anyhow. Um, which is a pretty large snow globe, and for some people who want to go even bigger than that, you can. I don't understand why people don't just, sit in the globe. It gives you protection. You're not taking damage, so I don't know why you're doing outside the globe and you're complaining, oh my god, I can't shoot into the globe. Like, just stand in it. That's all you had to do. But yeah, basically, it just kind of comes across as some quality of life shit for people who don't even play Frost. I don't think Frost mains are saying, oh man, you really need to be able to shoot into my snow globe. That's going to be amazing. Like, why? The only time I'd see this being like something okay would be kind of like in the case of like Limbo, because Limbo's the actual character who needs something like this, not the other way around, or for not for Ross, I should say. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a quality of life thing, cool, I guess, but I would rather him get an actual buff to Snow Globe, not just some quality of life changes. Outside of that, I don't know. I don't remember what else they're doing to him. I think that was it, outside of them just buffing cold in general. So, the main point of the video that I want to make clear is that armor needs a buff. That, or we just remove adaptation from the game, which, oh, that would come with some serious issues. If you removed adaptation, then pretty much every other DR has to go that isn't armor, which that'd be like the removal of like 12 different mods, and almost overnight health tanking playstyles would just evaporate. They could not exist anymore. So I don't think that would be the issue, or I don't think that'd be the way to solve that issue, I should say. Um, so I would say maybe increase armor, make armor do something for shields, like maybe regen rate or the delay between the shield can start back up. I don't know. Maybe something like that could be cool. Maybe make it work on overguard. So a DR, so like adaptation doesn't work on overguard, but armor can. So that way we have a reason to actually mod for armor. Um, but as it is right now, I don't really see what we could do. Like that'd be the first thing that comes to my head. I don't think armor should increase your shield, but also I don't think, it shouldn't just ignore shields entirely. Point to say, um, this is a really hard thing to balance around because adaptation is just so prevalent in every fucking build, or not every build, of course, but like it's just even in health tanking builds, you just have it because it does more than fiber will. Yeah, I think armor has to do something else other than just health protection. I'm fine that it protects your health, but make it do something for shields. Make it do something for overguard. Something. And with that, I would say that probably where the video concludes. So as always, thanks for watching. If you guys want to, tell me what you feel about armor, maybe you feel like it's fine, doesn't really need changes, or maybe you're like me and you think armor is really underpowered, especially when you compare it to just flat DR. Um, and maybe you have ideas what they could do with armor. They might be better than mine. I don't know. Let's talk in the comments if you have any ideas, or if you just want to talk about something. Go ahead. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and have a good day.